Good evening and welcome to the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board meeting, October 14th. The board did meet in closed session with no reportable action. And at this point, we will now call do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so Superintendent Kramer, is there any adjustments to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
Would anyone care to make a motion on the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And moving on to public comment, there is no public present, so we'll move right on to the superintendent's report. Superintendent Kramer.
Thank you, President Driller. I'd like to begin by thanking our amazing firefighters and emergency responders. Having a wildfire start so close to our town on Sunday was frightening. However, their quick and thorough response meant by Monday morning, the school district was able to move forward with all sports practices and planned events as scheduled. I also want to thank the Town of Truckee Emergency Operations Team for their support and collaboration. The town's team provides timely information, and they determine when evacuation shelters or information stations are needed. This coordinated response means we are best able to support our community during an emergency. I appreciate the partnership and support of all of our area agencies. It is a talented team.
Yes.
Yeah. And then next, did you know that it is just 2 weeks until the first day of school? Our maintenance and facilities teams have been hard at work all summer getting our schools and campuses ready for the new school year. A huge shout out to all of them for the monumental task they accomplish in a short period of time. Another group that's planning and preparing is our district leadership team. We met on Monday for the Welcome Back Recharge. And during the recharge, we worked on 2 actions in the district strategic plan. In the academic achievement strategic focus area, our priority is recruiting and retaining our educators and staff. During the recharge, our leadership team was introduced to the new online evaluation system. By updating our system, our leaders have an improved tool for providing feedback to their team members. In the Community Connection Strategic Focus area, our priority is enhancing outreach to all families so they feel included and welcome. At the Recharge, we launched our district-wide implementation of the Community Engagement Initiative. North Tahoe School and North Tahoe High School developed systems last year. All the schools were excited about the learning, and we look forward to continuing enhancing our two-way communication with our families. While on the subject of community connections, once again this school year, our bilingual services and ed services teams are hosting parent workshop events. In fact, one is happening right now till 7 o'clock at Truckee Elementary. It also took place yesterday. And then the final 2 parent workshops are next Monday and Tuesday at Kings Beach Elementary. The workshop is a great way to have assistance with the annual data confirmation process, filling out meal applications, which all meals are free, just to be very clear, but it helps families qualify for free aftercare with Boys and Girls Club, reduced fees, and so on. It's very worthwhile to do those applications. And also, our human resources team is there to help parents complete fingerprinting for those who wish to qualify to be an unsupervised volunteer at school or a field trip driver. And since the school year is just around the corner, families might be wondering about school supplies. Thanks to our generous community support through Measure AA, supplies needed for schools are very minimal. Typically just a backpack and a lunch if your student doesn't want a school lunch, which again are free to all students this school year. And finally, our district-wide Welcome Back event is next Friday, August 23rd. It is called Collaboration and Convocation. It's a half-day event at Truckee High School for all staff. There will be food trucks for lunch and collaboration time for teams and departments. And we end the event with the Excellence in Education Foundation's annual recognition of our incredible staff. They'll announce the Linda Brown Fellows and Star Award recipients. So I hope everyone enjoys the last few days of summer vacation. I know I am ready, and I can't wait to get the school year started.
Thank you for that. I know it is coming quickly. Oh, my. Yes, collaboration will be awesome the 23rd, so we will see everybody there. Moving on to 9.0 resolution. Superintendent Kramer.
For this item, we are turning to Dr. Cohen, our Executive Director of Student Services.
Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, and good evening, President Driller, Board of Trustees, and community. National Immunization Awareness Month was established to encourage people of all ages to make sure they are up to date on the vaccines recommended for them. TTUSD believes that the physical, social, and emotional well-being of students results from a partnership between families, the school staff, and community. TTUSD recognizes August as Immunization Month and this resolution and is committed to highlight the importance of vaccinations for our youth throughout the year. It is staff's recommendation that the Board of Trustees passes and adopts Resolution Number 2, 2024-2025, August Immunization Awareness Month. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that. Board, any questions or comments? Nope. And a reminder, there is no public, so we will bring this back for a vote. Would anyone care to make a motion on Resolution 2, 24-25?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2, 24-25 of the governing board of TTSD to establish August as Immunization Awareness Month.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, thank you. And then 9.2.
For this item, we'll turn to Mr. Todd Rivera, our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services and our Chief Business Officer.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the board. So tonight, we ask the board to consider Resolution Number 3, 2024-2025, a finding that an emergency exists in approving the contract for water damage repair at North Tahoe High School without bidding. And the backstory on that is the district is currently in the process of doing a re-roofing project at North Tahoe, which covers the area over the auditorium and some of the adjacent corridors and classrooms surrounding the auditorium. On July 15th, that area experienced a severe thunderstorm. Unfortunately, the roofing contractor did not have an area sealed on the roof and did not cover with plastic to prevent any water intrusion. We had a significant amount of water that intruded through the roof and actually carried down the second and first floor of that area, creating water damage to the stage in the auditorium, along with walls and ceilings on the first and second floor in the adjacent corridors and adjacent classrooms. So the staff took quick action on that, contacting our insurance company and getting someone in there that specialized in water damage restoration. It was a company through Schools Insurance Group that they've used in the past. They were actually on site the next day to assess the damage and quickly started demolition of the damaged areas. And that was done in an expedited manner in order to prevent additional damage and any potential for mold growth. And it was important that we started immediately in order to get it ready for school opening in August, at the end of August. So we've been doing work on that site. The demolition has been completed. And then the contractor that did the water demolition also provided a proposal for repairs on all of the demolition areas. So that includes new insulation, new ceiling tiles, new drywall throughout the corridors, and also replacement of the stage floor. And there'll also be some electronics repair within the auditorium as well. So with this resolution, if the board does approve, allows us to proceed with those repairs without having to go to bid. Normally, with a cost threshold of this amount, we would have to go through a formal bid process, which the timeline for that, and this was a board question, would be we would have had to get a architect or designer on board to just develop a scope of work prior to going out to bid, and that would take probably approximately two weeks. Once the plans were on all the specs were dialed in, we would go out to bid, which would require 14-day notice of posting before we receive bids, and then we would actually go out and award the bid, and hopefully the contractor would be able to start immediately. So with that, on a minimum, it would have taken us 30 days, but most likely it could have been as much as 6 weeks. And that even includes, we wouldn't even have been able to do the demolition work to dry out the areas as well. So this resolution, the Public Contract Code does allow us to contract without going through bidding as long as there's an emergency that's been declared. So this resolution essentially by 4/5 vote of the board will state that an emergency exists and that the emergency will not permit delay that would have otherwise resulted in from the competitive solicitation of bids, and that immediate action was needed to respond to the emergency. So included in that is also the proposal as reference material on what the cost and what the proposal is for the restoration of those areas. So this particular resolution is just to declare the emergency, and the rules are too that we'll have to bring this back as far as the emergency at every regularly scheduled board meeting until the emergency is no longer needed. So I expect that at the next board meeting, we'll have to do a consideration of whether there's still an emergency, and we'll probably declare that there is not, because we'll be completed with the work at that point, hopefully. So with that, we do ask that the board consider and approve resolution number 3.
Well, thank you for that, Todd. Board, any comments on that? The only one thing that I was going to just publicly announce is I do believe this is not any budget, there's no money taken out of our budget for this repair. It is insurance from the contractor?
Yes, sorry, I forgot to cover that. So under our contract with the roofing contractor, they do name the district as additional insured and are responsible for any damages that incur during their work. So to expedite things, we have submitted a claim with our own insurance company. So they're kind of covering in the interim, but they will go after the contractor's insurance, and they're already in communication with that, and they will get reimbursed for that.
Awesome. So that's good. Thank you for that. And then the other question was the emergency contractor that is completing the demolition and then the redoing of the demolition area. They will not continue the roofing. The roofing company will still finish the roof. And is that going to impede any of the school start time for North Tahoe School?
It will not. The timeline has been extended a little bit from what was originally planned. However, the work that will be performed once school is in session is pretty much putting on a top coat on the roof, so there should be very little disturbance and noise, and it should be done fairly quickly after the school year starts.
Awesome. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that at least we were covered, and that's that's a bummer. But at least we're done, hopefully. With that, board, would someone care to make a motion for resolution number 23, 2425?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 3, 2024-25, finding that an emergency exists and approving a contract for water damage repair at North Tahoe High without bidding.
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And aye. Moving on to 10.0 grant. Superintendent Kramer.
And for this, we'll turn back to Dr. Cohen.
Thank you. This is part of Quality Counts California. The Quality Counts California is a statewide quality rating and improvement system that supports local agencies in raising the quality of early learning and care. They provide technical assistance, professional development, and quality award stipends, as well as assessment and tools. Nevada County Quality Counts has provided a grant in the amount of $1,148 to support maintaining high-quality early learning programs in TTUSD. This is an additional amount to a previous grant that was accepted in the spring for $5,000. So it is staff's recommendation the Board of Trustees accept this grant. Are there any questions?
And, Board, any questions?
No.
My only question I had, when I think I already asked, was like, Nevada County Superintendent of Schools giving us money. This is great. We love it. With that, could I get a motion for 10.1? I'll make a motion to approve 10.1, the grant from Nevada County Superintendent of Schools for equipment and on supplies.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. And 10.2, Superintendent Kramer.
For this, we will turn to Mr. Rivera.
Thank you. So I'm sure all of you are aware that we have a long-standing partnership with Sierra Watershed Education Partnerships, and they have implemented programs in our district, everything from our sustainability clubs at all of our school sites to helping us with our sustainability efforts, which include recycling, waste diversion, and management. They also oftentimes apply for grants on behalf of the district. And this particular item is to provide them with a letter of support so that they can apply for grants through the Tahoe Truckee Airport District, which they have applied for in the past, and they have been successful, including receiving money for the district to purchase things like milk dispensers, some of our sharing tables that we have at our school sites. So to continue those efforts and continue our sustainability programs, they would like to apply for additional funds through Tahoe Truckee Airport District, and they do require a letter of support from their partner agencies.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on that?
Please and thank you.
Yeah, please and thank you. That's, I didn't know that we needed to do that, which is great. It makes total sense to get a letter of support. And yes, SWEP has been a huge part of a lot of it. And I'm psyched that Erica, our new sustainability manager, will be able to do some work with them, which is good. With that, 10.2, would anyone care to make a motion on that?
Sure. I'll move to approve the letter of support for Sierra Watershed Education Partnerships.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 An aye, sorry, thanks. And 10.3.
So
Superintendent
this
Kramer.
is another letter of support for a different community partner. This is our Tahoe Truckee School of Music, which has been a long-term partner for us to support music education in our schools. So they're also applying for a grant through the airport district, and the estimated value would be $61,000, and it would be shared between all of the district schools to enhance and provide an intro to music performance and different music workshops. I saw drumming on the list, which looked really good. So staff is recommending that the board approve this letter of support so they can apply for this grant.
Question from the board. Did I hear you correctly, 61,000?
Yeah.
Wow,
The whole grant.
that's impressive. I would like to make a motion to approve that letter of support for Tahoe Truckee School of Music. Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, thank you. Moving to the consent agenda, anything from the, sorry, is there anything that staff needs to pull from the consent?
Nothing this
And
time.
the board all set? We'll move to the consent 11.1.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Oh, I don't have to do both, sorry. I can do both all at once. Thank you, Kirsten. And a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, sorry, I confused that one. And nothing. Business Services 13.0, Superintendent Kramer.
Mr. Rivera, please.
Thank you. So this contract is related to the resolution that the board just approved, declaring the emergency and allowing us to move forward with a proposal with West Coast in order to do the water damage restoration. So this is the actual contract with them for $529,182 between TTUSD and Bridges Restoration, doing business as West Coast.
Thank you, Todd. And any questions from the board on that? Looks like it's pretty straightforward. And would someone care to make a motion for 13.1?
I'll move to approve the agreement number 242109.
Thank you. In a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Moving on to 14.0, student services. Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, and for this, Dr. Cohen is going to be telling us about our attendance.
Thank you. So, good evening. Tonight I'm presenting an attendance overview reflecting on our successes during the 23-24 school year and our continued efforts for attendance improvement during the 24-25 school year. And I'm very excited to share that we saw some significant attendance improvements, which are a direct result of the efforts by each school site to engage families and put targeted efforts into decreasing TTUSD chronic absenteeism rates. So our Attendance Matters campaign focuses on the fact that regular school attendance is a cornerstone of academic success. The connection between attendance and academic success is so important to a student's success throughout their educational career. Each missed day represents lost opportunities to learn new concepts, participate in class discussions, and solidify understanding. Over time, these absences can lead to a significant gap in knowledge. The impact of chronic absenteeism is significant. Students who are chronically absent often fall behind academically. They struggle with standardized tests, have difficulty completing assignments, and experience lower grades. Chronic absenteeism is a strong predictor of dropping out of school, and students who miss school frequently are more likely to disengage from their education and then eventually leave school altogether.
Can I interrupt you quickly?
Yes.
That was a lot of, when you put it that way, when you miss a day or two, when you do the 13 total, it's 5 years?
Yes, and so what we are trying to do is really, shock and then also provide the community education around this, because when you're faced with it, like, as a data point like this, it can make a big impact, and it will really help our families understand the impact of missing school. Here you can see an overview of attendance rates over time and by grade in TTUSD. We are showing steady improvement and now have data to show which grade bands and individual students need to be the focus for our attendance education and engagement. Over this past year, we were able to gather data that shows which days of the week and which months have the highest numbers of absences. Each school site can pull a graph to show their highest days of the week missed. This is a valuable tool in our attendance platform that allows schools to build in school-wide strategies to support improved attendance. One example of this is the day after Halloween had a very high absence rate, and this year will be a professional development day. Yes. The attendance summaries are reviewed 3 times a year. This allows us to focus on students who may be on the cusp of moving from manageable into chronic rates, and those who are close to moving from chronic back to manageable. It is the intentional conversations and the personal cell phone calls and check-ins by the school teams that make a significant difference in students' attendance. This is the data that has been reported to CalPADS. This data is used to identify our chronic absenteeism on the California School Dashboard. And this is the very exciting data, as it shows significant improvement our district has made between 22-23 and 23-24. And we all think our improvement has been tremendous. So we're now sitting well under the statewide chronic absenteeism rate and the national absenteeism rate, which is close to 25%. So, being able to analyze the data in a way that shows the impact on learning is assisting us in our communications and education with families. Understanding the actual impact absences have on student learning is key to a school, family, and community effort to improve attendance across the district. We're able to disaggregate the data to intentionally focus our communication and education efforts and tailor the information for our diverse education partners. There are differences in the data that we see on Attend, our attendance platform, and the data that is reported to the California dashboard. This slide explains the differences. I've shared a combination of data points tonight, both from CalPADS, which our student information system, ARIES, feeds into that, and then our attendance platform, ARIES also feeds into that. So Attend is largely assisting in the daily monitoring, reporting, and notifications and education campaign for the district. Our vice principals unanimously agree this platform has helped them increase their positive interactions with parents and students by removing the need for them to generate and send attendance letters. This is all now completed through the platform, and they're able to work on the actual conferences, interactions, and communication. The Attend platform assists us in a tiered intervention approach and provides different levels of intervention support. Expanding our multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS, is a focus for our assistant principal team this year. Improving school attendance requires a comprehensive, multifaceted approach. Collaboration is the key to unlocking the potential for positive change. By working together, schools, families, and community organizations can create a supportive environment that prioritizes regular attendance. Our families will have more positive communications and intentional educational information provided throughout this year. Attendance will be a focus in our district and school newsletters, and will be highlighted in our parent meetings. Effective communication is essential for improving school attendance. By fostering open dialogue with families and staff, schools can create a shared commitment to regular attendance. We are looking forward to this school year and the improvement we know we can continue to make. This slide shows an example of student attendance prior to having a conference with school personnel and a conversation, and then the results after that conference, and you can see attendance improves, absences go down. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for
I
that.
have a couple of questions, actually. That was a really great presentation. So much for that. I know that, especially in the wintertime and when everybody's sick and the weather's bad, that it's really hard for kids to make it to school. Because a lot of times, at least in my experience, my kids would go to school and get sick and then not be able to go to school. And then it would happen again 2 weeks later. It's like really perpetual. So I think we're on to something really important, and especially with the kind of weather patterns that we have here, and just the frequency of colds and flus with our kids, that's definitely a factor. I wonder if we could potentially extrapolate a data set out of this aggregate data to be able to understand which of it is behavioral and which of it is sickness related in terms of the absences. And I know that's probably recorded in the excuse section of the chart, you know? Anyway, that's just kind of an open-ended question. I'd like to know how much of it is like just school resistance and how much of it is actual sickness or vacation. And then this brings up another question for me, which is, I think, coming out of post-COVID, and the implications of how much school was missed by our students during that time. And in particular, when kids were at a stage of learning like second, third, fourth grade in 2020, where they missed a lot of the foundational, and Sean, you might be aware of this, I'm sure you are actually, like, I'm learning about this through my clients who are telling me, I can't do math. And so we're trying to dig down to like, why can't you do math? And then simple questions like, do you know your multiplication tables? An eighth grader today told me no. And do you know how to do long division going into eighth grade? No. Do you know how to do fundamental concepts of fractions, adding fractions, subtracting fractions, multiplying fractions? No. What are you reading right now? Nothing. So there's like stuff about what happened during COVID that as a researcher and a social scientist person, I feel like we need to dig a little deeper and try to figure out how COVID impacted learning retroactively, and then how does that affect learning today? Does that make sense? Because I feel like this has been on my mind, but I haven't really been able to find the appropriate venue to bring it up. But when you showed us all this data, I was like, oh, wow, okay, this fits into this conversation, because it's a really, I'm actually now a math tutor. I have become a math tutor, Like, we're going over fractions, we're going over multiplication tables, we're going over the 8s, the 9s, and the 12s, because they're really hard. And I'm like having conversations with parents, like, please understand that this is not your child's fault. That COVID we are still feeling the implications of COVID today, of what happened, especially to those younger ones. The older ones, my kids, graduated, went on to UC, really figured out how to function and were very good with virtual. But the younger ones missed a huge chunk of curriculum. And now, going into 8th grade, she can't access the curriculum. She says she just sits in class and writes down the notes, but she has no idea what she's learning. So I feel like, okay, that's crazy, and we need to make sure we're paying attention and maybe do some type of retroactive analysis of how kids are doing that were in those grades during 2020, 21, and 22. She also said that, like, when they went back to school in 5th grade and everybody was wearing masks, she couldn't understand anything the teacher was saying.
Pardon me.
So there's like a lot of factors to consider about like how now these kids are trying to get into the high school level math, and they're making computational errors because they don't have all the basics in place. So maybe that's worth taking a look at. And thanks for listening.
Thank you for that, Kristen. Anyone else have any comments on that presentation? Chris?
Hi, first of all, very positive presentation, thank you. It's good to see the changes and hear the changes that our staff is doing. That's some, above and beyond to make sure that the students are showing up and working with families. I think that's really, really positive. So I have like a two-pronged thought process. One, I want to kind of piggyback on your example of your patient, because, I know we've talked about like, what's going to happen after COVID? How can education change? How can TTUSD be part of that? And then it just seems like we just moved forward, right? We took care of the mental health thing, and are still working to take care of the mental health thing for our students, whether it's COVID-induced or otherwise. But the education went back to status quo, and that's not a negative. It's just how it is and how it's been. But in like your comments, one of the things I was thinking about is, so I have an example that I would like to share, and I've already shared it with Superintendent Kramer, and that was at the end of last school year, I midday went to a coffee shop and found a handful of girls, high school girls, doing schoolwork at the coffee shop. And their response to me when I inquired was that they can get all that work done in 20 minutes, a half hour versus sitting through a full period in school. So there's absenteeism right there, right? They're not in school, but they're doing their schoolwork. So one of the things that at least the older school population learned is how to log on to whatever programs, get their work done in half the time, and then enjoy the rest of their period or their day, right? So how do we embrace that? Or, I don't want to say how do we manage it. Really what I'm questioning is how do we embrace it? Because we know that the kids are functioning. These are straight A student young ladies, but they're accomplishing that outside of the school and the classroom. So how do we work with that? Because there's a pocket of student population that can do that. I know we need butts and seats. We're accountable for butts and seats, right? But they were taught a way to learn that they didn't tap into before. And so I don't want to ignore that. And if we need them to be in school, and this is my second prong to my question or comments, is I understand that Aim High has a completely different edge, right? They're short program, they're during the summer, they add the carrot at the end of the week or the end of the day with an outing, which kind of leads me to think about the outdoor education, Mr. Hilton. But what, is there anything, any nugget that we can emulate or research about their process? Because if I don't have my notes in front of me from last week, but I want to say they had 95% attendance. Now, we're talking about a small number of students. Yeah. And the kids are younger than high school, right? Most of them, so they have a different mentality as well. But is there anything we can learn or research as a district? I'm not saying 4-day weeks. I'm not saying, 20-minute classes. I don't know. That is not my field of knowledge. But there's something happening that we should be able to embrace to help our absenteeism, if I could even say that. There's just an opportunity there, and as far as the learning loss, again, not my expertise, I can't address that. I'm looking at you, Sean, because you know best and your team knows best and our teachers know best, but there's just an opportunity here, and what can we do about it? That's it, thank you. But again, in closing, great numbers, great reports, awesome work by our staff to make sure the kids are getting to school. I don't want to take away from that. So thank you.
Thank you. Pat or Danielle?
No comments.
I think that's an awesome thought. And again, I think the opportunity is when you look at how our students are now, they are different. And what do we do to make it so that they are still engaged, but still getting the work done and still having that passion to be there? More power to them to get the work done without being in school or getting it done somewhere else. But what is the nature of a school at this point? Like, so what is our school? But then that's not everybody. So not everyone can do that.
Correct.
20 minutes at this coffee shop to get their work done. But well stated, and I think it's something to look into. And again, we're moving forward. Like, things are changing, so that's good.
Well, Anna Marie, you can do another dissertation if you want.
It's like, oh, no, please, no.
There's some perfect subject matter areas that you can do lit review, and I'm sure. I bet actually in PhD programs, they are probably doing studies on that right now, and how to reconfigure education for the modern mind, I guess, is kind of how I would say it, because exactly right. Kids they can speed date through classes now, and they don't need to sit through a lecture, and they don't need to hear it 3 or 4 or 5 times. So learning has fundamentally changed, and I guess the word for that is like the pedagogy of learning, right? The kids' brains are different, and we as a institution need to respond to what has changed, I feel like, I mean, I think we all agree.
It's almost like an accelerated learning, but not for gate, right? It's almost like an adaptation of, I can take this in, I can see the lecture, I can do my homework. What we value as a district, though, is the hands-on learning, the collaboration. I mean, that's one of the things that makes our district so amazing, that I wouldn't want to take away from that, so I'm not poo-pooing on how we teach our students or the work that our teachers and other staff do. I'm just saying, like, we've had this conversation off, what's it called,
Off the record.
yeah, just as, a mental health worker, a mom, and all this other stuff, and it's like, I just feel like there's an opportunity here to offer something for those who want it or need it.
We've talked about our Cold Stream Academy. We fill those classes quickly, and that's offering more of what you were sharing, Chris, that flexibility of they have the one time a week with their one-on-one session with their teacher, so it's very personalized, and then they work independently, and they get the feedback from the teacher. So it's kind of like the girls that you ran into that can learn, quickly in a short period of time and then work independently. So, we have talked about whether we need to look at Cold Stream or look at online for those students that online really appealed to them and they would like to continue in the online format. So great, yeah, it's a really interesting discussion.
Thank you. That was an info item. I do appreciate the conversation on the dais. That was awesome. Moving to board business. Oh, wow, 15.0. Holy camole. 15.1, Superintendent Kramer.
So for this item, what we're presenting to you is a revision to our December of 2024 board meeting date. In order the way the calendar works this year to fulfill the requirements, we need to move our organizational meeting to December 18th, so it's after the second Friday in December. And we got permission from Placer County because our interim budget report is due by December 15th. But because that's a Sunday, they said it's just fine if Todd presents that on Wednesday and you guys approve the budget and then we send that over. So it kind of helps us keep our tradition of one board meeting in December.
Okay, so that is an info action. Sorry. Would there be a motion, or could someone please make a motion to approve that cancellation of the December 11th board meeting to reschedule the meeting to the December 18th?
I'll make a motion to change to cancel the December 11th board meeting and reschedule it for December 18th.
Thank you. In a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And then 15.2, Superintendent Kramer.
So for our planning purposes, it helps us to get the board meeting dates established for January through June of 2025, so the principals can schedule their showcases and we can schedule our visits and so on. And so we've brought to you a proposal of board meeting dates for this winter and spring that follow the first and third pattern when it works. But again, we're asking for an exception in June to push it to the second and fourth to give more time for the LCAP and budget development and public hearings. And then because of spring break, I believe the second April meeting is the fourth week also.
Any questions from the board on those calendar dates? Would someone care to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the new dates for the board meetings, January 25 and December 25.
Thank you. In a second?
I'll second.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And comments from the board? Kirsten, let's start at the left. Anything? Or Kirsten, sorry, Kirsten's right here.
Yeah, you
Kirsten.
threw me off there.
Yeah, sorry, I noticed that.
Easily done, though. I just want to thank Tony for hosting us yesterday at the transportation tour that we had. It was really fun to see all of the new magic buses. Remember that book, The Magic School Bus? I mean, like, it was just so great to see all of those beautiful school buses and the charging stations and the people who were learning how to become school bus drivers and all of the work that goes into the routing and assigning the seat.
Thank you. Chris?
Same. I just want to thank the transportation department and say how fun it was to be in the garages, and it was just so cool to be in the office and talk to the office staff, and I'm just so super, super proud of all departments in our district, but as we get to visit individual departments and just see the ownership and the care, and I think the word student and children came up way more than I can count, and that's what really matters. And so, yeah, thank you, good job, keep it up. And for those 2 new bus drivers that were being trained, see you on the road. That was so cool. Oh, and one was a legacy hire, right?
Yes.
Like he has family in the district, so. I mean, I don't know if that's a word, but that's what I'm calling it.
Wait, did you go to AIM High? I don't know. Danielle? Pat? I will say that I went to the bus garage as well, and I'm still working on getting my license, but I haven't gotten it yet. And then I've had a blast with our 5th graders mountain biking. We've got a bunch of little ones starting up just on our mountain bike team, which is just so much fun. And there's a bunch of parents that, Mr. Hansen and Rick from middle school, 8th grade, I can't think of his last name right now. Yep, yep. I biked with him yesterday, which is just so much fun for me to be, and that's what we were saying. As a board member, you have different perspectives on where you are, and we had a blast because we were both, breathing hard going up the hill, and then we're dodging rocks on the way down, and it was really fun. But it's been an awesome experience. And then on August 4th and 5th, we're having a mountain bike race at North Tahoe, which everyone should come watch, but it's a big one. It's I don't know how many kids, but it's the first race of the season.
At the cross-country
At our school, starting at our school, and we're starting at just to the right of the bus garage, around course maintenance. They'll finish most of it, but we'll be able to use the parking lot, and then it just goes through almost a 5-mile loop. And so the little kids will do 1 loop, and then the bigger kids we practiced yesterday, and they were like lining up where they're going to angle to get around that corner faster, and so it's pretty fun. So that we have a really large team. We have some kids from Incline that are riding with us because Incline's team is small, and then Truckee doesn't have as many as we do. I think they have a couple different teams, but we have a really big team of North Tahoe kids, which is awesome. Like there's some amazing high schoolers, and then there's some strong middle schoolers that are way faster than me. But it's been really fun. But it's kind of cool being, and that's what I was saying to Rick, that it's fun being on that side of the sort of the lens, looking at students, but you're able to bike with them, and then they're breathing hard and falling or whatever. But it was fun. So good time. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting. 6:19. Thank you for everything.
That's a record.
All clear.